Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I'll be breaking down the NBA slate for Thursday, March 23rd. We got a 5-game slate on for this Thursday. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, starting off at point guard. Your top point guard on today's slate is Chris Paul. He doesn't get that good of a matchup against the Mavericks. The Mavericks play at a very slow pace. I'm not going to be targeting CP3 on this slate, not in this slow-paced matchup. And I don't like his price tag either at $44. I think that's a little bit too expensive. If I'm going to pay up for point guard, I would much rather take Damian Lillard for $2 cheaper. Lillard gets a terrific matchup at home against the Knicks. The Knicks really struggle to defend point guard. Derrick Rose is not a good defender. And Lillard has been playing very well lately. In his last 5 games, he's put up 33, 49, 42, 61, and 55 fantasy points. And Lillard's been playing pretty heavy minutes as well. If you're going to pay up for point guard, he is definitely the guy I would target on this slate. He's probably going to be the point guard that I target. I really like Lillard in this matchup, and I like that price tag at $42. I think that's very cheap for him. I think he can easily return value in this matchup. So if you're going to pay up for point guard, I feel like Dame's probably the guy you should target. I'm really liking him on this slate. If you don't want to pay up to the top, you can target Mike Conley against San Antonio. If there's one spot you can attack San Antonio, it's in the backcourt. They really struggle to defend guards. And when these two teams just played March 18th, Conley had 40 fantasy points in 35 minutes. He can easily repeat that stat line today. Not a big fan of that price tag at $36, but this is a pretty solid matchup. Like I said, San Antonio does struggle to defend point guards. So if you don't want to pay up to the top, I do like Conley, but I'm probably just going to be paying up for Lillard on this slate. For $1 cheaper under Conley, you got Goran Dragic against Toronto. This is a pretty good matchup against the Raptors. Cory Joseph is not a good defender. The Raptors really struggle against point guards. If you're going to choose between Conley or Dragic, I would probably take Dragic for $1 cheaper. With Dion Waiters out of the lineup, Dragic has really had to step up and do a lot more offensively. He has had 2 pretty down games lately, scoring 30 and 25 in his last 2, but I definitely think he can bounce back today and get you at least 30 fantasy points. So if you don't want to pay up and you want to attack the mid-range, I do like Goran Dragic at just $35. I think that's pretty cheap for him. I think he can return value in this matchup against the Raptors, so I do like Dragic on this slate. Derrick Rose against Portland. This is a very good matchup for Rose. Portland really struggles defensively against the point guard. They're one of the worst teams against the point guard. And Melo's going to be playing limited minutes for the rest of the season, so D-Rose and Porzingis are really going to have to step up. So I do like D-Rose. If you don't want to pay up and you want to attack the mid-range, he is definitely a guy you can target. He is pretty cheap at just $26. I think he can get you 30 fantasy points and return value in this matchup. So if you don't want to pay up to the top, I do like D-Rose at the mid-range. I think he is in play. If you need some value at point guard, I'm really liking Tyler Ulis against Brooklyn. I'm probably going to be locking Ulis in on Yahoo. He is way too cheap at just $15. He only has to get about 25 fantasy points to pay off that price tag, and he can easily do that against the Nets. They're one of the worst defensive teams, and this is going to be a very fast-paced, high-scoring game. So I'm definitely going to be playing Ulis on this slate, specifically on Yahoo. Now, I'm not sure what his price is on other sites. I know a couple days ago he was like $7K on DraftKings, which is very expensive. Don't know what Ulis' price is today on DraftKings, but if he's over $7K, I wouldn't play him. With that $7K price tag on DraftKings, he has to get at least 40 fantasy points to return value, whereas at just $15 on Yahoo, he only has to get about 25 to return value. So there's a big difference there. So Ulis is severely underpriced on Yahoo. I'm definitely going to be locking him in this good matchup. I also do like Cory Joseph against Miami. I know this isn't that great of a matchup against Miami. They are pretty solid against the point guard. But Joseph has been playing very well lately. In his last 5 games, he's put up 15, 24, 25, 29, and 23 fantasy points. So he has been pretty consistent. With that cheap $14 price tag, he only has to get about 20 to 25 fantasy points to return value. And even in this bad matchup against Miami, I do think Joseph can do that. With Kyle Lowry out, Joseph's really had to step up and play heavy minutes. So if you need some value at point guard, I do like him. I think he is in play. And yeah, that's pretty much it for point guard. Let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. Alright, your top shooting guard on the slate is DeMar DeRozan. He gets a pretty solid matchup against Miami. They're not that good defensively against the shooting guard. I do like DeRozan's price at just $40. His price continues to drop on Yahoo, and $40 is very appealing for him. He only has to get about 40 to 45 fantasy points to return value, and I definitely think it's likely that he can do that. So if you want to pay up for shooting guard, I definitely do like DeRozan on this slate, especially on Yahoo. He is very cheap at just $40. He can easily return value. And DeRozan was struggling earlier, but he did bounce back in his last game against Chicago, scoring 64 fantasy points. So I do like DeRozan on the slate if you want to pay up for shooting guard. I think he is in play. If you don't want to pay up to the top, I also do like CJ McCollum against the Knicks. The Knicks really struggled defensively against the shooting guard. McCollum is pretty cheap on Yahoo at just $33. He only has to get about 35 fantasy points to return value. And I think it's very likely that he can do that against the Knicks. Like I said, they really struggle against shooting guards. So if you don't want to pay up to the top for DeRozan, I do like McCollum for $7 cheaper. I think he is in play. For $3 cheaper, you got Devin Booker against the Nets. I doubt I'm going to be targeting Booker on this slate at $30. He hasn't been returning value lately. He has been struggling. But this is a really good matchup against the Nets. Like I said, they're one of the worst defensive teams. If Booker is cheap on other sites, then I like him there. But I won't be playing him on Yahoo at $30. If I'm going to attack that price range at shooting guard, I'll just try and find the $3 to get a McCollum, or I would just pay up for DeRozan. So I doubt I'm going to be targeting Booker on Yahoo, but if he's cheap on other sites, then I do like him there. And then if you need some value for shooting guard, I do like Josh Richardson against Toronto. With Dion Waiters out, Richardson has been getting the start at shooting guard, and he's been playing just about over 30 minutes every night. So if you need some value at shooting guard, I do like Josh Richardson at just $12. I think he can easily return value with the minutes he's playing. This isn't that great of a matchup against Toronto. They're pretty solid against the shooting guard, but at just $12, I think Richardson can easily pay off that price tag. He's playing almost 35 minutes every night, so I do like Richardson. If you need some value on the slate, I definitely think he is in play. Yeah, that's pretty much it for shooting guard. Let's go ahead and move on to small forward. Your top small forward on the slate is Kawhi Leonard. He gets a pretty bad matchup against the Grizzlies. They're a pretty solid defensive team, and they don't play at a very fast pace either. I'm not going to be playing Kawhi on this slate, especially not at $50. He is way overpriced on Yahoo. With LaMarcus Aldridge coming back, Kawhi is definitely not worth that $50 price tag, so I'm not going to be paying up for him. I don't think he is in play on this slate. Carmelo against Portland. I do like Melo in this matchup, but the Knicks have said that they're going to limit Melo's minutes. So Melo's probably not going to play over 30 minutes any game. So I don't think he's worth that $37 price tag if he's not going to be getting his full allotment of minutes. So I'm probably not going to be playing Melo on this slate. I do like him in this matchup, but since the Knicks are limiting his minutes, I'm not going to be playing him. At the mid-range, the guy I'm probably going to be playing is T.J. Warren against Brooklyn. Warren is severely underpriced on Yahoo at just $24. He's been crushing value lately. In his last 5 games, he's put up 22, 41, 38, 34, and 22 fantasy points. So T.J. Warren's definitely going to be the small forward that I target on this slate. He gets a terrific matchup against the Nets. They're one of the worst defensive teams, and they play at a very fast pace. Like I said earlier, this game should be very high scoring. You're definitely going to want to target guys from this game. There's probably going to be no defense played in this game, just all offense. So I do like T.J. Warren on this slate. I definitely think he's a small forward you should target if you're attacking the mid-range. I like him at the mid-range. And if you need some value at small forward, I do like Karis Levert against Phoenix. Levert is very cheap on Yahoo at just $11. With that price tag, he only has to get about 20 fantasy points to return value. And he can definitely do that given this matchup against the Suns. They're not a very good defensive team, and this game's going to be very fast-paced. So I do like Levert. In this fast-paced game, he's going to really have to score the ball, which is what he does best. So if you need some value at small forward, I do like Levert. But yeah, that's pretty much it for small forward. Let's go ahead and move on to power forward. Alright, your top power forward on this slate is Blake Griffin. He doesn't get that good of a matchup against Dallas. Like I said earlier, Dallas plays at a very slow pace. I'm not going to be playing Blake on the slate. I don't like this matchup for him, and at that $41 price tag, I don't think he's going to be able to pay that off in this slow-paced matchup. So I doubt I'm going to be playing Blake on the slate. If I wanted to pay out for power forward, I would much rather have Kristaps Porzingis for $10 cheaper. With Melo playing limited minutes, like I said earlier, Porzingis and D Rose are both going to have to step up and do a lot more offensively. And at just $31, I'm really liking him in this matchup. Portland really struggles to defend power forwards. I think he can easily return value in this matchup. He only has to get about 35 fantasy points to do that, and he can definitely do that given this matchup against Portland. So I do like Porzingis on the slate. If you want to pay up for power forward, I think he's a guy you should target. LaMarcus Aldridge against Memphis. I don't really like this matchup for Aldridge. This is going to be a very slow-paced, low-scoring game, but Aldridge has been very consistent as of late, and he's pretty cheap at just $27. In his last 5 games, he's put up 24, 33, 37, 32, and 42 fantasy points. So if you want to attack the mid-range, I do like LaMarcus Aldridge. I don't really like this slow-paced matchup, but he's been very consistent lately. He's definitely a guy you could target for cash. So if you need a cash game power forward at the mid-range, I like LaMarcus Aldridge. For $1 cheaper, you got Harrison Barnes against the Clippers. This isn't that great of a matchup for Barnes. He's going to have to go up against Blake Griffin, and Blake's a pretty solid defender. And Barnes has kind of been struggling lately, so I doubt I'm going to be playing him. If I'm going to attack that price range, I would much rather have Aldridge for just $1 more. So I'm not going to be on Harrison Barnes. I don't think he is in play. Under Barnes, you do have James Johnson against Toronto. I do like Johnson in this matchup. With Dion Waiters out, he's really had to step up and do a lot more offensively. He did struggle in his last game against Phoenix, only putting up 15 fantasy points in 22 minutes. I definitely think he can bounce back today and get you 30 fantasy points, which is good for a $24 price tag. So if you want to attack the mid-range at power forward, I do like James Johnson. His price has risen, but he can still pay that off with the usage and the amount of minutes he's getting with Dion Waiters out. So I do like James Johnson at the mid-range. And if you need some value, I really like Marquise Chris against Brooklyn. Chris is very cheap on Yahoo at just $11. He's been crushing value lately. In his last 5 games, he's put up 16, 40, 29, 25, and 31 fantasy points. And he's been playing pretty heavy minutes as well lately. He's played over 30 minutes in 2 of his last 5 games. So if you need some value at power forward, I'm really liking Marquise Chris against Brooklyn. This should be a very high-scoring, fast-paced game. So I definitely think Chris can pay off that cheap $11 price tag. He only has to get about 20 fantasy points to return value, and he can easily do that in this fast-paced game. So I do like Marquise Chris. If you need some value at power forward, I like him. I think he is in play. And yeah, that's pretty much it for power forward. Let's go ahead and move on to center. All right, your top center on this slate is Hassan Whiteside. Yahoo currently has him listed as a game-time decision, but he is probable to play against the Raptors. I don't really like this matchup for Whiteside, but he is very cheap at just $39. He only has to get about 40 fantasy points to return value, and he's gotten over 40 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. So even in this bad matchup going up against Joe Val, I do like Whiteside to return value. He is pretty cheap at just $39. I like a lot of the centers at the mid-range, but if you have the salary, I think you can pay up for Whiteside on this slate. He is definitely in play, but I'm probably going to be targeting some of the guys at the mid-range. For $9 cheaper, you got Marc Gasol going up against San Antonio. I really like Gasol's price tag at just $30. He's paid that off in 4 of his last 5 games. So he is very cheap. This isn't that great of a matchup against San Antonio. They're pretty solid against the center, but when these two teams just played March 18th, Gasol played 39 minutes and put up 31 fantasy points. So he can easily return value with the cheap price tag, even in the bad matchup. So I do like Gasol. If you don't want to pay up for Whiteside, he can definitely be a guy you target. For $3 cheaper, you got DeAndre Jordan going up against Dallas. I don't think I'm going to be playing DJ on this slate, not in this slow-paced matchup. DJ has been playing very well lately, and he is pretty cheap, but I don't think I'm going to be playing him given the matchup. If I'm going to pay that price tag for a center, I would much rather have Jusuf Nurkic at the same price. Nurkic gets a terrific matchup at home against the Knicks. The Knicks are one of the worst teams defensively against the center. Willie Hernangomez is not a good defender. So if you're attacking the mid-range at center, I'm really liking Jusuf Nurkic. He's been playing very well lately. In his last 4 games, he's put up 36, 41, 41, and 33 fantasy points. At just $27, he only has to get about 30 fantasy points to return value. And he can easily do that given the matchup against the Knicks. So I do like Jusuf Nurkic at the mid-range. Also at the mid-range, I'm really liking Brook Lopez at home against Phoenix. Phoenix really struggles defensively against the center now that they've shut down Tyson Chandler. And Brook Lopez has been crushing his price tag lately. He's very cheap at just $25. Like I said, he's been crushing value. In his last 5 games, he's put up 33, 35, 38, 32, and 39 fantasy points. At a $25 price tag, he only has to get about 30 fantasy points to return value. And as you can see in his box score, he's been doing that lately. So, also really like Brook Lopez at the mid-range. He's probably going to be the center that I target on this slate. He is way too cheap, and he gets a terrific up-and-pace matchup against Phoenix. So I do like Brolo at the mid-range. And if you need some value at center, I do like Jonas Valanciunas going up against Miami. Serge Ibaka has been suspended for this game, so Valanciunas is going to have to step up and play more minutes. And this is a really good matchup against the Heat. Hassan Whiteside is not a good defender. Valanciunas is pretty cheap at just $16. He only has to get about 20 to 25 fantasy points to return value. And now that he's going to have to play a little bit more minutes, I definitely think he can do that given this matchup. So if you need some value at center, I do like Jonas Valanciunas, but I'm probably just going to be attacking these guys at the mid-range. But if you need to save, I like Valanciunas. I think he is in play. And yeah, that's pretty much it for center. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my starting 5. Alright guys, so this is my starting 5 for tonight's slate on Thursday, March 23rd. Also want to mention that I did create a PayPal donation link. So if you look in the description, if you look at the first link, there is a link where you can click on that. It'll take you to my PayPal and you can send a donation to me. I have had people contact me before and saying that my picks helped them win and they wanted to send me a donation. So if you want to do that, just look in the description and just click on the first link in the description and it'll send you to my PayPal. And you can donate however much you want. Obviously, it's your choice to donate. You don't have to. I'm not telling you you have to, but the link is there for those that want to. and I would really appreciate it if you guys did. I do make these videos every day for you guys, and they are free to watch, so I would appreciate it if you guys donate, but you don't have to, obviously. But thank you to those that do. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or leave a comment on this video, and I'll be sure to answer your question. If you guys want my full updated lineups before lock, then follow me on Twitter and send me a message, and I'll get you a lineup. Whether you play on Yahoo, FanDuel, or DraftKings, I do give out lineups for those 3 sites. So if you play on one of those 3 sites, you can get my lineups. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. If you never want to miss out on a video, then please be sure to click the bell icon next to my YouTube name, and you'll get notifications every time I upload. So if you never want to miss out on a video, please be sure to do that. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video. Good luck tonight, guys. Peace.